Hello, Footballer Nation, and welcome to the Draft Room with the greatest rising podcast in football. I'm your host today, Carson, the Cardsaholic.
I am Alex, the Billsaholic.
And I'm Ian, the Bearsaholic.
We're going to get started right away with this mock draft, but first, like always, we got to roll that intro. Hello, Footballer Nation, and welcome to the Footballers Anonymous Mock Draft, your first full Footballers Anonymous episode dedicated to Carson's college knowledge. We're going to jump right into what is my mock draft. Just, to give you guys some perspective. I did this. These two haven't seen it yet. No trades were allowed, so every team just used the picks that they have, and they picked the best position for each one. I couldn't really decide whether I want it to be who I want them to draft or who I think they'll draft, so it's kind of a little bit of both. This is more just like a hypothetical, this could happen, and these are all some pretty good moves. They could happen. But we're going to jump right into it now. We're going to go through the full first round of the draft. I'm going to talk about each pick. These guys are going to give their thoughts, whether they agree or disagree. And then once we get through the first round, we'll just hit a couple of highlights from the next 6 rounds and should be pretty fun. But as you know, the first pick in the 2025 draft is held by the Tennessee Titans. Now, about a month ago, I put out my opinion on this pick. I said that the Tennessee Titans should draft Abdul Carter as the best skill position because I didn't think they needed a quarterback. However, with some different situations happening, for example, the Browns no longer needing a first-round quarterback, the Giants no longer needing a first-round quarterback, a lot of things have changed. And so, for this mock draft, with the first overall pick in the 2025 draft, the Tennessee Titans select Cam Ward, quarterback, Miami.
Quarterback. Throwing on a dime, I can't even try.
Look, all I'm going to say about Cam Ward, do I overhate on him? Yes. But for the record, it was a touchdown. That's for those who know.
Drones lets it fly. Carson, how do you like that? Virginia Tech, they roll in a touchdown on the game's final play. Looks like we're going to get the verdict.
After further review, the ruling on the field is reversed. It's an incomplete pass. The game is over.
What? There's no way! Cam Ward is a good quarterback. I'm not going to say he's a bad quarterback. He's a great quarterback. He's got the arm. He's probably got the best arm in the draft. I have issues with some of his mental game. He's not my personal favorite in the draft, but I think he's a pretty safe option for the Titans, and he should be relatively successful, at least.
I agree with that. I mean, especially considering the stuff that Cam Ward has put out and the stuff the Titans have put out, I think it's going to be the first overall pick.
How hilarious would it be if he wasn't?
I know, after he said how, we talked about last episode, he was talking about how Calvin Ridley was a top 3 wide receiver, and both Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard were top 3 running backs. Respect for hyping up your team, but that also obviously means that's going to be your team, right? He's not just saying that to say that,
It'd be funny though if they don't draft him.
That would be wonderful.
I
I can respect Cam Ward going number 1 overall.
I can respect it. He's not my favorite, but I think it's a reasonable pick.
Obviously, this isn't going to be in your mock draft, but I want to discuss really quick if for some reason Cam Ward doesn't go to Tennessee, because obviously Cleveland and the Giants aren't seeming to be looking for a quarterback right now. Where does he go?
I could see the Saints taking a chance on him. I could see maybe the Steelers, but I have a different idea for the Steelers that we'll get to. Otherwise, honestly, the Browns might pick him up round 2.
He would not fall that far, but yeah.
I mean, there's not a whole ton of quarterback needy teams.
Sorry, for any of those watching the video format of the podcast, I had a little bit of a jump there because I'm watching hockey.
Alex is watching hockey right now.
The Minnesota Wild just went up 3-0. I'm very happy. Anyway, please continue.
Anyways, so with that, the Browns are now on the clock. And the Browns, well, they definitely had an interesting free agency. Their quarterback room is currently Kenny Pickett, Deshaun Watson, and Joe Flacco. So kind of strange there. However, the Browns do have a lot of other needs that can be addressed. But I feel like the fairly obvious pick for the Browns here is, with the second pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Abdul Carter, edge rusher from Penn State. I feel like this is just a gimme pick right here. Pairing him up with that whole defensive scheme, I think will make up for them having such a weird offense. Myles Garrett and Abdul Carter just seem fun to watch together, and I want to see it.
Oh, yeah, that'd be insane. Obviously, we thought Myles Garrett was going to leave for a little bit of time. He's still there.
Money
That's going to be a
talks.
scary combo. You know, the Browns might not have a lot going on the offensive side of the ball, but their defense is still, if they get Abdul Carter especially, they're still going to be formidable.
I 100% agree. Okay, and then we got the Giants. Oh, the Giants. They're in kind of a weird spot here. At first, it seemed pretty easy for them to lock in on maybe a quarterback like Shadur. And then they signed 2 quarterbacks over free agency, and now not everyone's really sure. So the Giants, in my dream scenario, the Giants trade down here. Okay, the Giants trade down here and pick up some good capital. But we're not doing trade downs, so this is going to be a little weird. But in my mock draft, with the 3rd overall pick in the 2025 draft, the New York Giants select Ashton Jeanty, running back from Boise State.
I just don't see them doing it. The other day, I was like breaking it down in my mind when Carson said, "Oh, I have GT going in the top 3." I was trying to think about breaking it down. I was like, "Yeah, he's gonna make him go to the Giants." I just don't see it. They need to do something defensively. The Giants need to do something defensively before they draft G&T at 3, especially because they have Tyrone Tracy. I think they're content with Tyrone Tracy.
Here's where I'm coming from. Let me give my reasoning first.
You want to get another take?
Well, partially, but here's my thing. My understanding is that if they had all the time in the world, they would draft defense first. They'd probably pick up someone like Mason Graham, but he'd be great for any team if he falls. However, this front office in New York is under a lot of pressure to do something this season. They need a splash move in order to keep their jobs. And I think the best splash move for them in the first round is just taking Jeanty at 3 and calling it good. And to be fair, credit where I think in the draft, I think Jeanty is a top 3 prospect. I think that's what they need to do.
Just not in this top 3 for me.
Well, okay, Ian wants Jeanty on the Bears.
He's most likely going to Raiders. I just don't see him going to the Giants. Bears aside, me wanting him on the Bears aside, I just don't see him going to the Giants. It's as simple as that.
It's a valid take. Like I said, in the real draft, I don't see him going 3rd overall to the Giants. I think the Giants will trade down and someone else will pick him up. But without these trades, I think they take Jeanty.
I see both perspectives here. I understand kind of where Ian's coming from because they do have Tyrone Tracy. But I guess I also see where Carson's coming from because it is also the Giants front office and they're trying to do something, and that would be technically the thing to, like, if they wanted to make a splash. Is it the right pick? Not necessarily.
No.
But they're not looking to necessarily make the long-term right pick for the future.
I completely agree with Carson in the ideal that they'll trade down. That is what I see being most likely outcome. Hey, maybe even I mentioned this a while ago. What if the Bears trade up with the Jaguars to take G&T? Maybe we trade up with the Giants to take a G&T. Who knows? But I just don't see. I just don't see the
We
Giants.
would have to give up a lot, but
We definitely would, but I think it would be worth it as a Bears to get trade up to 3 for G&T.
you also have
absolutely.
to consider that the Raiders might try to do that as well.
Correct.
This is true.
But no, I don't think they would. I don't think the Raiders are in a position right now where they think they need to trade it for G&T. I think the Raiders know that if no one else takes, no one's going to take them before then. The only risk they have is someone else trading it.
It is also worth noting that even if you don't land Jeanty, the running backs in this class are crazy. Like the top 5 running backs in a normal draft could all easily be picked in a first round if the running back class wasn't just so loaded. So there's not a whole ton of, if you don't get Genty, you've got Omarion Hampton, you've got so many big names that you can easily draft and could just as easily be franchise guys. All right, coming in at number 4, we have the New England Patriots. I don't feel like this one needs much explanation, but I'm going to have at number 4, the New England Patriots select Will Campbell, offensive tackle out of LSU. That just seems like a given.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, the only other position before free agency that could have made the argument was receiver, and then they signed Diggs, which
I definitely think they're going to hit receiver in this draft, just not first round.
100%.
They're going to hit it.
Now, will they succeed at hitting at receiver in the draft? Probably not.
No, probably
but,
not.
You know, they'll try. They'll try.
Hey, it's not Bill Belichick this time around.
That's true.
Yeah, but they also didn't have Belichick drafting last year, I don't think, and they still missed on the receiver pick.
Who did they draft last year?
It was
Who did they? I'm sorry. Sorry,
I'll-
there's like 20 of them. But I know they drafted one last year.
I'll just look up.
I'm just curious. I'm just blanking.
It
No,
was
I don't
Javon
remember his
Baker.
name.
Javon Baker.
Javon Baker. Yep.
Oh yeah.
He didn't do much.
Which it was his first season, but it's also a Patriots wide receiver.
What
Oh,
round
I
was he
can-
taken in? I don't remember.
He was.
He's a day 2 guy, right?
Who?
Yeah, I believe so, but I don't know.
I believe he was a day 2.
Baker. He was. Yes, he was the 4th round, the 110th pick.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, it's a 4th rounder, so they weren't really trying to shoot their shot at a big name receiver, but still, I think they will hit it sooner rather than later this year.
We'll see.
Coming in next, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars, who sit at 5. The Jaguars have a couple of different needs. They could use a tight end. They could use so much defense, just so much defense. But there's one man who is a Footballer Nation fan favorite who I just couldn't let slip. So, with the 5th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Mason Graham, defensive lineman, Michigan.
Honestly, kind of sad to see him go. kind of sad to see him go there.
I will say, I've seen a lot of mock drafts have him go to the Bears. Like, a lot of mock
I've
drafts.
seen a couple. I'm not saying like I want to be back. I'm just sad that he's going to the Jaguars of all teams.
It is kind of sad. It's
I'm not
hard.
gonna lie. When you said football is not his fan favorite, my mind went to Colin Schley first.
He is in this draft.
Is he
He's there.
really?
He is in this draft somewhere.
Oh
You'll-
boy.
Don't worry. I didn't let Colin. Speaking of which, now might be a good time to show Footballer Nation the shirt I designed for myself for draft night. All right. See, I totally used the merch store to design it, by the way. So we've got, right, the VT on the front, and then
W.
number 3, Colin Schley. I will be
Carson,
wearing
you
it
gotta
on
get
draft
yourself
night.
at the draft.
I do. Dude, I got to be there. But it's in Green Bay, which is a little ick.
You know what else you gotta do?
What else do I got to do?
Plug the shop.
Do what?
Plug the
Oh.
shop.
Go to the shop, footballersanonymous.shop.fourthwall.com. Pick up your shirt. We don't have Colin Schley shirts for sale, but we do have all the coolest FBA merch. You should check it out. You have one more day to use code DESTROYING for 10% off your first order.
Maybe we should make Footballers Anonymous Colin Schley shirts.
Maybe we should.
We'd have to
We'll
fight
look
for
into
the
that.
rights.
We probably
We'd
would.
have to fight for the rights.
Definitely.
Well, you don't have to have just like have like Footballers Anonymous logo and then Schley, and then it's just like
Still would have to fight for his name rights.
Still would have to fight for his. We could make it work. We could
Make Colin Schley an FBA ambassador.
Yeah.
exactly.
Colin Schley, if you're watching this, seriously, let us know. Love to have you on the pod. Anyways, up next at number 6, we have the Raiders. All right, the Raiders, so many needs, right? I could have just had them draft a running back like everyone else does. However, it was hard for me to see 2 running backs going in the top 6. It was hard. So I gave them someone different, someone who I know I received a lot of backlash for putting this guy so high in one of my videos, but I'm doubling down because I think he's worth it. So, with pick number 6 in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select Jahdae Barron, cornerback out of Texas.
Interesting. I could see it.
I think he's that guy.
Realistically, the Raiders need just about everything.
It's
so-
true. For me, it's sort of a best available. I mean, they have some,
Yeah.
like, if they were just doing best available, they would have picked up Tyler Warren, but they don't need a tight end.
That's like one of the few things they don't need.
And I think Jahdae Barron's a sleeper. Honestly, I don't think he's going to go that high, but I think he's worth it.
So that's what Carson was referring to when he was saying that. Like some of it will be what he thinks they'll take, and some of it will be what he thinks should.
It's a little bit
happen.
of both. I try to keep it realistic while also inserting my own opinions into it as well. Now, coming in at number 7, this is going to be a big pick for the New York Jets. Okay, the New York Jets, if they want Justin Fields to succeed, they need to beef up that offense. Now, there has been one athlete that the Jets have really been doing their homework on, and I think it's pretty clear that they want him. So coming in with pick number 7 in the 2025 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Tyler Warren, tight end out of Penn State. This one, it's gonna happen. Like, if they don't make this pick, then they've done a really good job fooling literally everyone in the league.
What? Just wait until the Jaguars or something take him for no reason.
The Jaguars would actually also be a pretty good landing spot for Warren,
I
honestly.
agree with that. That's like one of the only ones that I could see taking a. I'm trying to think. I mean, the other teams could use a tight end, but I'm thinking like in terms of where they are in the draft. I think the Jags are the only team that I could see taking them before the Jets.
Yeah. I mean, the other teams could use them, but I don't think they'll take... They have other things that are more important.
Higher needs, better players on the board.
Yeah. Now coming in at number 8, we have a very interesting pick. A pick that I have been fan drafting this for a long time. I know it's not realistic that he's going to show up here, but I think it would be so cool if he does, and maybe his best landing spot. We talked about Jahdae Barron earlier and about how much backlash I will probably get for putting him above a certain someone else. So, of course, with the number 8 pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select Travis Hunter, athlete out of Colorado.
I do understand because mostly because Travis Hunter's a little bit of a risk in the
Yes.
sense, not that the player aspect, but the fact he will retire from football if he can't play both positions, and that's a little bit
Questionable.
questionable. Yeah,
I don't believe he is the best corner in the draft or the best wide receiver in the draft. I don't. I just don't. But I think the 2-for-1 deal in Carolina, who desperately needs receivers and corners, I don't think it's a bad pick. I mean, he's not going to fall that low because the NFL is glazing him so much. But honestly, I think out of all these teams, I really think if that's what he wants to do, I think Carolina might be one of the best places for him to do it. And
Oh, yeah.
Ian brought up last time we talked about him, he brought up the fact that he probably can't play both positions in the same game. But I think it would be really helpful for Carolina to have a rotational piece like that.
I think there's a situation where he's like more of a rotational guy on both sides of the ball. He could do it in the same game,
It's possible.
but you also have to take in consideration the scheming you have to do. You have to do double the scheming, double the planning.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
it's a lot. It's just tough because it's hard to see him fall any lower than that because he is an incredible athlete and a very good football player. He's just weird and kind of a risk. But I think Carolina would be the best place for him to flourish the way he wants to.
I could see a situation where they favor him more on one side of the ball, depending on what they need more versus the team they're playing against.
Probably.
It's
That's exactly
interesting.
what I said. I
It's
think
new-
that's the only way he can play.
Yeah.
Depth
playing
of
both
level of
sides.
scheming.
Well, I agree. Like Ian said, like you got 1 week, it's like, hey man, we need another receiver. Or hey man, we really need another corner out there. We need to lock someone up. We got it. I think it's pretty good for Carolina. Just another guy for Bryce Young and another guy for that defense. Now coming in at number 9, we got the Saints. And the Saints need like everything. Just about everything. There's a lot of talk about the Saints picking up a quarterback at 9. I don't know if I like that very much. But it's a possibility. But for me personally, at number 9, I have the New Orleans Saints selecting Armin Membu, offensive tackle out of Missouri.
Yeah.
I don't think there's too much to be said there. Just the first of so many building blocks.
And they're still in debt.
Yes, and they're still in debt. All right, now we have another one, probably one of the more interesting picks in the first round. At number 10, there's a whole lot of talk about who can be taken by Chicago here. I have my opinions. I know Ian, as a Bears fan, obviously has his opinions, and I guarantee our opinions are different. And there's so many great guys. I love Mason Graham possibly going here. If Genty goes to 10, they're obviously going to take him, and they should. A lot of people like McMillan going to the Bears. Also a valid take. Me personally, I think there's a guy that you can't sleep on, and that is with the 10th overall pick in the 2025 draft. I have the Chicago Bears selecting Jalen Walker, edge rusher out of Georgia.
I don't agree with that one.
I know you don't.
I was expecting you to say Malachi Sparks, which I've come to agree with.
Malachi
I'm
Starks
glad
is another big guy.
I'm glad you didn't say Hampton. I'm starting to not want him at 10. But I don't think we need edge. We've spent so much money on edge. We don't need to put a top 10 draft pick on edge. We have other things that we need to address.
Jalen Walker, he's not just an edge rusher. That's just like what he's officially listed as. He does a lot of stuff on the line, but this guy,
We don't need line.
he's amazing. Like Jalen Walker, he is incredible.
I think line is like one of our least concerns right now, actually, with how much money we've
He's-
invested in it.
On PFF, Jalen Walker is ranked as the 4th best overall prospect in the draft. Overall.
Now, what is he an on the line in the trenches guy? Or is he more of a like outside linebacker type of edge rusher?
He would probably be more outside.
Linebacker?
Yeah, outside linebacker.
Okay, if that's the case, then I'm okay with that pick because
Yep.
we do need a little bit more linebacker help.
He'd be an outside guy. I like that pick. I also really like Malachi Starks. Ian saw a couple weeks ago I had Malachi Starks to the Bears on one of my drafts. I also think that would be very good for them. But I have some for the Bears, I have some pretty interesting picks. It's second and third rounds. I think I had some pretty interesting takes for the Bears. But we'll get to those
We're not-
later. Next, at 11, there's not much that needs to be said here. The 49ers will select Mike Green, edge rusher out of Marshall. At that point, they're just looking to bolster that entire defense. Mike Green, another incredible edge rusher. The edge rusher class, insane. Probably the second best in the draft behind the running backs. You're gonna see a lot of those guys picked up in round 1. I don't know. I just really like the edge rusher class. With number 12, this is another one of those picks. This is the Cowboys. This is another one of those picks where I personally think they should trade down. We can't do that though. So, picked a little high, but with the 12th overall pick in the 2025 draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Amarian Hampton, running back out of North Carolina.
Yeah, that's their biggest need for sure.
They can't not address it. It's too big of a need. I don't think Hampton is worth the 12th overall pick. I think he could easily go 15 to 20, but since they can't trade for him, they have to pick him at 12. I don't think they can not address running back first round.
I agree. Dallas's their run game was just atrocious.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Honestly, it's been pretty bad for a while, and I know they had Pollard, but like it's just been a mess in that running game for Dallas, and they really need to open up that level of their offense.
With number 13, we have the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins have had it pretty rough during free agency, not gonna lie. I originally had them taking a corner. I think that would have been great for them. But with the 13th overall pick in the 2025 draft, the Miami Dolphins select Kelvin Banks, offensive tackle out of Texas, who I think is rated lower than he deserves to be. I just think
I think they would need corner more, especially with Jalen Ramsey being gone.
technically not gone yet. Technically.
That's true, but
But that is fair.
We shall see.
I don't know. I wanted to give them Will Johnson, but I like Kelvin Banks better for the value of pick 13. Next up at 14, you've got the Colts. The Colts, they're going to be kind of weird in the draft. I don't really know what they're going to do, but I feel like it was safe with the 14th overall pick in the 2025 draft. The Indianapolis Colts take Malachi Starks, safety out of Georgia. I think that's very valid for the Colts. They were very bad against the deep ball last year and could use someone like Starks. I also just love the Georgia defenders. Most of the Bulldogs they're Bulldogs. Like, they're going to go pretty crazy on the defensive side of the ball. Amazing prospects.
Oh yeah.
With that being said, I'm not picking a Georgia Bulldog for this next one. At 15, we have the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons have a couple of different needs. But overall, again, for sheer value of the player and because they actually do really need it, I have the Falcons with the 15th overall pick in the 2025 draft. The Atlanta Falcons select Donovan Ezeruku, edge rusher out of Boston College.
Makes sense.
It's a very, very realistic take for them.
there's also a situation where I don't know. I'm trying to think about Kirk Cousins. Obviously, we're not doing trades in your mock draft. I'm just thinking about Kirk Cousins, but I don't know.
Yeah.
They're weird because they technically have the Kirk Cousins capital.
You know, I kind of wanted to say that they draft Shador Sanders.
No, they have Penix though.
Yeah, they've already got their quarterback, so they'll draft another one.
I think it.
Falcons
Be
fans
better-
would love it.
I think
Oh yeah.
Falcons to invest in interior as opposed to edge, simply because one of their strongest points of their line this season was their interior and how like dominant it was in being able to create holes for Caden Ellis to come through and get big sacks in time. But with them losing Grady Jarrett to the Bears, that won't be as effective as they hopefully want it to be. So I think an interior line would be better, or shifting edge to interior. But I do agree with the lineman or the defensive lineman choice.
Again, it's just there's so many dominant edge rushers. So many of them are going to be taken in the first round. There's a big need for them around the league as a whole, but they're just the value of them. They're going to be picked a lot in the first round. I have a couple more that'll come out later.
I was saying this is a really good year to have a lot of edge rushers because
Oh,
it's
yes.
slowly getting worse and worse. Like
Absolutely. Up next at 16, we have the Arizona Cardinals. I switched their pick like 7 times. I could not decide. The Cardinals have to address defense. They could address wide receiver, but I don't think that'll be something happening in the first round. It's going to be defense. I originally had them with edge rusher. I wanted to give them James Pierce Jr., but I eventually did change my mind, and with the 16th overall pick in the 2025 draft, I do have the Cardinals taking Will Johnson, quarterback out of Michigan.
okay.
That's the other dominant need. And
Yeah.
also, there's not a whole lot of teams underneath them who need corner, and I don't see him falling out of the top 20. But I just feel like that's a pretty good pick. Honestly, I really see the Cardinals trading down as well. Trading down and picking up probably an edge rusher, but I can't do trades. So they take Will Johnson. But there's a good chance they trade down. Don't be surprised if they do. With that being said, up next, the Bengals, easy. With the 17th overall pick in the 2025 draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Shamar Stewart, edge rusher out of Texas A&M.
You know, what would be really hilarious is if the Bengals took a wide receiver in the first.
That
round.
would be funny.
Don't they need secondary like badly?
They do.
They need
They just need all the
They need
defense.
defense in general, yeah.
Their depth chart on defense is sad.
especially if they can't get Trey Hendrickson signed.
Yeah. I basically just have the I basically just looked at all of the defense and just took the best defensive player overall, which I think is Shamar Stewart. With that being said, up next at 18, we have the Seahawks. This again feels pretty simple. With the 18th overall pick in the 2025 draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Josh Simmons, offensive tackle out of Ohio State. That's just a given. They can't.
You still don't have McMillan picked up?
Nope. McMillan is not even my top wide receiver.
Interesting.
Oh, I guess technically my top wide receiver is Travis Hunter, since he's the first one I sent out. But no, I don't. I don't have McMillan as my top guy, which is purely circumstantial, by the way, but we'll get into that later. Anyways, at 19, we have the Bucks. And the Bucks, honestly, they're also a little weird. I could see them maybe trading for some capital, but I figured it would just be smart. With the 19th overall pick in the 2025 draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select James Pierce Jr., edge rusher out of Tennessee. After this, we finally get a break from edge rushers, but there's just a need in those 10 to 20 picks where there's a lot of edge rushers who are going to go, and they're all worth it too. But up next, we have the Denver Broncos at 20. The Broncos need running backs and receivers. I mean, Bo Nix was able to do great with who they already have, but they need some bigger name guys. So I decided, with the 20th overall pick in the 2025 draft, the Denver Broncos select Matthew Golden, wide receiver out of Texas. I like Matthew Golden better than T-Mac. That's my hot take. Take it as you will. I like Matthew Golden better than T-Mac. I think T-Mac's great. He is amazing. They're two completely different kinds of receivers. Matthew Golden, smaller. He's a speed guy. You're going to have T-Mac. He's more of a big contested catch guy. But I like Matthew Golden better at 20.
That makes sense. Because I like that pick.
By the logic of how you put the two receivers, I do think Golden is the better option for the Broncos. They don't really have that like smaller,
Yeah.
unit guy. I don't see McMillan dropping out of the top 20.
Oh, absolutely. He probably won't. But again, this is my mock draft, so I decided.
I will also say the Broncos, Sean Payton specifically, have stated that they are really looking for a running back.
This is true. This is true.
I feel like that's a bigger need. Like they need both. They do need both receiver and running back, but their running back situation was almost as bad as Dallas's last year.
This is very true. My personal thing was with where they are. I don't see. I mean, because again, I can't make trades and move positions. I don't see after Hampton. I don't see a running back who's worth the 20th overall pick. And I didn't even have any wide receivers off the board. If no wide receivers have gone off the board by 20, the Broncos are gonna pick one up.
Yeah, I see the vision there. They could try and trade up for Hampton, but they could also
I
probably
could see
get,
them
like,
picking up Hampton. I honestly
They
could.
could also probably try and get like a Scadaboo guy in the second round.
There's a very good chance that Hampton doesn't get picked up by the Cowboys and does fall. That's totally reasonable. They could easily pick him up at 20, and I think that'd be great too.
Yeah.
Now at 21, we have a sort of interesting situation in Pittsburgh, right? Will Aaron Rodgers sign there or not? Here's the thing. I personally think whether Aaron Rodgers signs there or not, he's not their franchise guy, right? I think with the 21st overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Shedeur Sanders, quarterback out of Colorado.
You think that would make Aaron Rodgers go to the Vikings?
I think he wants to go to the Vikings regardless. But even if they do pick up Rodgers, I think Shedeur could do well sitting the bench to Rodgers for a year and then being the starter.
This is true. I like that pick. Especially considering like a lot of the teams ahead of him don't really need quarterbacks, which is kind of funny.
The only other one I could really see picking one up is maybe the Saints, but I think they need to address other things.
Yeah, I agree with this.
Now with the 22nd pick, I have this. If this doesn't happen, I'm just going to be sad because it just has to. With the Chargers, with the 22nd overall pick in the 2025 draft, the Los Angeles Chargers select Colston Loveland, tight end out of Michigan. This just has to happen. I mean, Harbaugh is going to get one of his Michigan guys. Herbert will get a weapon, someone to throw to. This is one of the best situations for the Chargers to be in at 22.
Yeah.
Now at 23, we have the Green Bay Packers. And the Packers, I don't think he'll fall any further. With the 23rd overall pick in the 2025 draft, the Green Bay Packers select Tetairoa McMillan, wide receiver out of Arizona. They're going to finally have their actual wide receiver one. And maybe Jordan Love will throw fewer picks, but probably not because he's Jordan Love. But I feel like if he's at 23, the Packers have to pick him up.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's the kind of receiver they need. I think he'd fit so well there. Yeah, I don't know.
The
I
big
like that
thing with the
pick.
Packers, they have a good receiver room, but they don't have a true number one guy.
And he would bring a lot of diversity. Again, he's that big kind of guy, big contested catches. Jordan Love throws lots of contested catches.
Is the receiver room even able to be considered good?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's bad, not in
It's
comparison to a lot of others.
Okay,
I wouldn't say
their
it's
biggest
good.
issue is they don't have a receiver
from
one.
Christian
They have a lot of solid receivers. They have Romeo Dobbs.
Yeah.
They have I'm sorry, I'm blanking on names, but they have Christian Watson. They have Romeo Dobbs. They have
Jalen Reed, who I love. I love Jalen Reed.
Yeah.
They have Reed. They have Reed. They're all good receivers. It's just that none of them are true number one.
Hardman, right?
And Hardman,
Yeah,
yes, they get Hardman. So they have a lot of solid wide receivers, just not guy number one. And I think they can address that pretty well.
They also have Bo Melton.
True, they do have Bo Melton. Max is better. Just saying. Anyways, with pick number 24, the Vikings have to be really careful with who they pick here because they only have 4 picks the entire draft. They could easily trade and get some more, but in this scenario, they only have 4 picks. But at 24, they're in a pretty good spot here where I put them. So with the 24th overall pick in the 2025 draft, the Minnesota Vikings will select Kenneth Grant, defensive lineman out of Michigan. I really like Kenneth Grant as a prospect, and I actually didn't like that I had him so low. But I think he's an easy pickup for the Vikings. I think they could definitely use some defensive line.
I low-key thought you said Kenneth Graham, like Mason Graham, and I was really confused for a second.
Yo, Mason Graham too? Unfortunately not.
Yeah.
I feel
Now-
like D-line was their like strongest point this season on defense.
I thought so too, and then I looked at the depth chart and I was like, I guess not, because that's what I. So for every single team in the first round, I found at least 2 YouTube channels that cover those specific teams and saw what the fans of the teams wanted, and everyone for the Vikings said they wanted defensive line, and I was so confused as to why. I looked at the roster and I was like, okay, I guess that makes sense. Their defensive line wasn't actually that amazing last year. They weren't bad, but with Kenneth Grant, I think he's a top 20 pick. At 24, I think he's a steal for the Vikings. I also just think the Vikings are pretty solid in general, so I think they're okay addressing the defensive line. I think that'll help them.
I'm not sure what offensive linemen are available where you had the Vikings at. I don't know if
That
there's a
was the
good
only
one.
other thing that I was really thinking about was offensive line.
Yeah, because they did not have a good offensive line last year. But if the defensive line's more applicable for the position, obviously they're going to take that. That's something to consider with the Vikings as well.
I
They
wouldn't be
definitely do need
I wouldn't be
at some
surprised
point.
if they do
I
that.
don't think they would use a first-round pick on a running back, but they do need running back at some point in the draft.
They do. I don't know. I don't think I actually have them picking up a running back because they only have 4 picks. But honestly, I don't think when the draft actually happens, they will have 4. They're going to trade for a couple more. Probably get some lower round guys. They definitely do need running back for sure.
Yeah.
Now at 25, this is another one I feel like is fairly obvious. The Texans, could I see them addressing wide receiver? I could. And they definitely will during the draft because their guys keep getting hurt and they just need to. But with the 25th overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft, the Houston Texans will select Gray Zabel, interior offensive lineman out of North Dakota State.
Okay.
That just feels like a very safe pick for the Texans.
Yeah, they need O-line. They need
need
O-line.
it bad.
Especially now that they got rid of Laramie Tunsil too. Like they
Yeah.
went from bad to worse. Like I don't know what they were thinking with that. I still will never understand why they traded him.
Yeah, that was definitely a weird move. I feel like they have to address the offensive line in the draft just because of that. Now, here's one of my favorite little picks. We have the LA Rams. And I almost hate making this pick because I think it's so perfect, but I really love this prospect and I don't want him to go to the Rams. But it's too perfect to not. With the 26th overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft, I have the Los Angeles Rams selecting Jackson Dart, quarterback out of Mississippi. My reasoning, Jackson Dart, in my opinion, is one of the best in this draft. But a lot of scouts are very worried that Dart is not ready for the NFL yet and will not do well if he does not land in the proper system with the proper head coach. I mean, you can't get much better than Sean McVay. And sitting behind Matthew Stafford for 1 or 2 years, Jackson Dart will be able to come out looking pretty solid. And I think it's just safe to say that Jackson Dart's going to be that guy there in a couple years. Now, there is a good chance that they don't spend a first-round pick on a quarterback, but I just think the Jackson Dart situation there is just so perfect.
I like that pick, yeah. It's hard to think of a better place to go than that.
Now at 27, we have Baltimore Ravens. For once, it was their defense that was the issue this year, which was kind of weird. So I have, with the 27th overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens select Kevin Winston Jr., safety out of Penn State. I originally wanted to give them edge rusher, but actually this was mostly because of Charlie. I took safety.
I think corner's probably better than safety, but I do agree with the secondary pick.
Cornerback is valid.
On the board.
Cornerback is valid. There aren't many good corners available at 27 for that value pick, so I took safety. I think that's pretty good for them. Now the Lions at 28, I don't think there's much to be said. With the 28th overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Walter Nolan, defensive line out of Mississippi. They just need defense. They need defense. Or they just need their current defense to stop getting hurt. One of the two, but I have them taking Walter Nolan because I think their offense is already set anyways. As long as Jared Goff doesn't have a postseason collapse.
Yeah, like last time. But even when they had 4 turnovers, they still put up 30-something points.
Yeah, exactly. All right, now at 29, we have the Commanders. Commanders? They're pretty close to getting to a Super Bowl. They just have a couple positions they need to fill. I haven't seen this a lot, but I decided that with the 29th overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Washington Commanders select Caleb Johnson, running back out of Iowa. I think 29 is a little high for Caleb Johnson, but I can't do trading, and I think they need to address running back first.
That's fair. I don't think that's a bad pick at all.
No.
They don't really need a ton, but that's one of the things they do need.
They definitely do. At pick 30, we have the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills, already pretty solid roster. I think they could use another receiver. So with the 30th overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills select national champion Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver out of Ohio State. I think Emeka Egbuka is a very solid wide receiver. I think he was kind of overshadowed a lot on Ohio State's roster because Jeremiah Smith is there. But I think he's a very solid first-round guy. And I think he and Josh Allen will ball out.
What kind of receiver is he?
He's I would say he's more of a speed guy.
Okay, good. That's
Decent in the
generally
slot.
what we kind of need.
Yeah, I know he played slot a lot at Ohio State.
Well, okay, wait now. No, that's not what we need. I'm sorry. I'm mixing myself up. We have Shakir. So the weird thing with Keon Coleman, that was kind of an issue last year. He's a bigger guy and he can make contested catches, but his speed almost doesn't work on the outside. It's really weird. It's like he can't get off the line quick enough to like get himself in the right spots on the outside. So it's weird. I don't know. I don't know if we necessarily need another slot guy, but if he's kind of a mixed bag, then that's okay.
Definitely mixed bag. He's declared for the NFL Draft. This is his third time. So, yeah, and then he's been like, actually, I'm going to do another season. But he's actually doing it for real this time. So this season with Jeremiah Smith, we saw him in the slot a lot. He's done plenty of other things. That was just,
Okay.
I mean, when you have Jeremiah Smith on the squad, I mean, you know.
Yeah. I don't think he would play a ton of slot in Buffalo because we have Shakir, but I could see that working.
However, it is worth noting, the Buffalo Bills will probably trade back one spot, and the Chiefs will pick up Egbuka, and he will go off.
We're not trading with the Chiefs.
Having said that, at pick 31, we do have the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm just going to say it. With the 31st overall pick in the 2025 draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select Josh Connerly Jr., offensive tackle out of Oregon.
Yeah.
I don't. There's not a whole ton to talk about. It just
Patrick
makes sense.
Mahomes is incapable of winning when his offensive line doesn't protect him forever.
Yeah.
So they need to protect their baby.
Breaking news, guys. A baby owns the Bills.
The Bills are owned by a baby.
Listen, we're owned by a baby, but the Bears are owned by a crybaby.
What?
You mean a game manager
No.
or a general
Not a game-
manager? You general manager, Mr. Rogers.
We're owned by a drug addict. I'd
Mr.
rather be a
Rogers.
drug addict than a literal baby, as you put it.
A frog,
Well,
actually.
Yeah, you gotta take into consideration that the frog man has some magical powers. The frog baby has some magical powers.
So-
Aaron Rodgers does not.
So you're owned by a magical tadpole.
Not a
Wow. Okay. Patrick
Hey,
Mahomes,
I
the magical tadpole. Everyone.
magical tadpoles are pretty.
Maybe
pretty
this ties against some of what Aaron Rodgers is on.
Yeah, maybe. Anyways, at 32, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. For the Eagles, I pretty much picked the best value position for them. They have lost a lot of defense over free agency, and I cannot see this guy falling out of the first round. So, with the 32nd overall pick, the Philadelphia Eagles select Nick Emmanuel, safety out of South Carolina.
Okay. They address secondary. That's what they need to do because they lost a little bit of secondary after the Super Bowl. So I like that pick.
Yeah, me too.
Just keeping up what they already had. So with that, that's the full first. Sorry, did you have something to say, Alex?
They are not owned by a magical tadpole.
They are not. Shout out Jalen.
Jalen, the one that can't get girls.
Yeah, come on, Jalen. Lock
Hey,
him.
that Jalen gets girls. That Jalen gets girls. The Jalen we're talking to right now does not.
That's true.
Yeah, of course. The
All right.
Jalen we're talking to right now is like Jalen Rager, not Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so
Except for without all the money.
I'm now sending Ian and Alex my full mock draft so they can pull it up. We're gonna go through round by round. I'm gonna start off with talking about any of the picks that I think are worthy of being talked about, And then if they see anything where they're like, wait, that's really cool, or that's stupid, they can also bring it up. And we're just going to go round by round. So I just sent it to you guys. You should be able to open it. While you guys do that, I'm going to go through my biggest picks for round 2. Starting off with 33, the Cleveland Browns are going to take Tyler Shook, quarterback out of Louisville. They're going to add someone else to that quarterback room just because I think they can get him for decent money, and maybe he'll actually be the franchise guy. But if not, they also have 4 other guys, so they're chilling. At 35, the Titans select wide receiver Luther Burden, and I think Cam Ward and Luther Burden together is just awesome. I just love that. I think it's awesome. At 39, the Bears select Cam Scatterbo because they need that running back. The Cardinals select edge rusher Michael Williams. I think he fell too far there. But he was still on the board. Best available player. At 52, the Seahawks select Jalen Milroe, quarterback out of Alabama, just because he's there. And I don't like him, but the scouts really do, so he's probably going to go round 2 or 3. Yeah, other than that, what do you guys think?
No.
I feel like the Broncos.
I like Xavier Watts at 41.
So the Broncos, I have them with the sleeper pick in the round 3. I have them taking Virginia Tech Bayshaw Tootin.
I did see that.
Because I think he'll be able to fall, but also still be that guy.
I agree with that part of it. I just don't see the Broncos waiting that long to get a running back. But
no, that's valid.
I do like Xavier Watts at 41.
The Chiefs should not have taken Omar Node and Lott with that pick. They should have taken Isaiah Nayor in the 2nd round. For those listening, I'm joking because that's
yes, of course,
a very late pick, and I'm just trying to make the Chiefs bad.
100%. Moving on to round 3, the Giants select Jack Beck, wide receiver out of TCU. Pretty solid at 65. This is a pretty boring round. The Cardinals select Wyatt Millam, offensive tackle out of West Virginia. The big ones, back-to-back Virginia Tech guys. That was an accident. The Bucks are going to take cornerback Dorian Strong at 84 from Virginia Tech, and the Broncos select running back Bayshaw Tootin at 85 from Virginia Tech.
I like that the Texans at 89 get Ozzie Trapillo from Bill O'Brien's Boston College.
That's pretty much it for round 3. That's big. Oh yes, Isaiah Bond did fall. Probably too far, but he did fall. And the Seahawks pick him up in round 3.
I also see Will Howard going to the Giants.
Yes, Will Howard, quarterback out of Ohio State with the 99th overall pick to the Giants.
I believe that in the 3rd round, the Chiefs should take Taro Sugimoto.
I think that's a perfect idea.
Okay, actually, I'm gonna do a quick explanation of this.
Go for it.
In hockey, it was the 70s or the 80s, the Buffalo Sabres GM got bored in the late rounds of the draft and took a fake player with a pick. His name was Taro Sugimoto, who's a Japanese player. He does not exist. He basically just made a player to pick, and they took it. They accepted the pick.
That's kind of awesome. That is kind of awesome. Moving into round 4, the New Orleans, with the 112th pick, takes quarterback Quinn Ewers out of Texas. Virginia Tech's Aeneas Peebles, my GOAT. I had to put him in Arizona, defensive lineman. So he goes there at 115. The Broncos at 122 take wide receiver Tez Johnson out of Oregon because, Bo Nix's adopted brother. I had to. You can't not do that. Just makes sense. Also, 122 is about where I think he'll go. The Jags at 126 take quarterback Kyle McCord out of Syracuse. The Bills take edge rusher Kyle Kennard from South Carolina at 132. And the 49ers with 138 take cornerback Kobe Bryant out of Kansas.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah.
You gave him to the 49ers.
I know.
It's a bold
Especially
move.
since Kobe Bryant on the Seahawks already owns us. I was like, why not have another?
It's funny because the Seahawks had the pick right before that. They really could just have 2 Kobe Bryants.
They could. They totally could just have 2 Kobe Bryants, and I could totally just cry every time we play them.
Pretty soon they'll get the actual Kobe to start playing from too.
Yeah. Moving into round 5. Round 5 also goes pretty similar. I have the Bears take at 148 Jalen Rivers, offensive tackle out of Miami. The Cardinals take a wide receiver, Pat Bryant out of Illinois. Shout out Illinois. Otherwise, 165 Virginia Tech's edge rusher Antoine Powell-Ryland goes to the Eagles. The Eagles have like 164, 165, and 168, which is kind of funny.
We have the same thing a couple picks later, 169, 170, 173, like the exact same mathematical.
At 169, I have the Bills take another receiver, Jalen Lane out of VT, just because the Bills have so many draft picks. I was like, I guess they can just take another one. So they take Jalen Lane out of Virginia Tech.
Which is good for us. We are usually very good with our late picks.
Yes, I think Jalen Lane would be a very good pick, but I'm also biased.
Couple other things I also want to look at. Trevor Etienne going to the Panthers at 146.
Yes.
And then, because we mentioned Jalen Reed earlier, a different Jalen Reed. His safety is going to the Bucks at 157. Safety
Another
out of Penn
Jalen.
State.
Trevor is definitely going to the Jags.
Do they really need... I mean, okay, I get it, but also they play the same position.
Yeah. See, like, I
mean,
understand that, and also the Jags, like, don't have any picks around where... Well, they kind of do. I don't think so, though. They're not gonna... It would be cool, but no.
It's gonna be like how the Bucks got Giannis and then Thanasis. It's just gonna be like that.
I don't
But I
think
think the
that's really
difference is that-
comparable, but okay.
I think the difference between that is that the difference between Giannis and Thanasis is a very extreme difference.
Yeah.
Trevor's probably looking to be a pretty good player himself. So.
Moving into round 6, the Raiders at 180 take Dylan Gabriel, quarterback out of Oregon.
Lots of tight ends in this round.
Yes, lots of tight ends come this round. The tight ends, there's a very big drop off in the value of the class, so a lot of them come in these later couple of rounds. Otherwise, there's not a whole lot that I want to talk about from this. If you guys see anything, you can bring it up. Whole lot of tight ends. You get Bills get one, the Browns, actually 3 in a row to start off.
Yeah.
Then the Ravens take a tight end. The Broncos take a tight end. The Cowboys take a tight end, and I think that's it.
Overall, not too crazy.
Now, round 7 to close it out. Couple things to talk about. At pick number 225, the Arizona Cardinals select quarterback Colin Schlee out of Virginia Tech. He will get the starting job because he's Colin Schlee, obviously. At 226, the Chiefs take running back Jaquavius Marks out of USC, just because Jaquavius Marks is such an awesome name. I love the name Jaquavius. The Bears take cornerback Jalen Smith out of USC with 233. And the Chiefs get to select Mr. Irrelevant this year, unless they trade it away. So the Chiefs select wide receiver Isaiah Nayor, wide receiver out of Nebraska, as Mr. Irrelevant.
He will somehow turn into an absolute demon against the Bills in one game and then never be seen again.
Oh, absolutely, because that's just how it works.
Exactly.
I do want to touch on
Go for it.
the pick 243, the Baltimore Ravens.
They do take a kicker.
Taking a kicker.
Hey, they
Nice.
said they're going to look at a kicker in the draft. Had to make sure they get one.
It's funny because that's the only kicker drafted, right?
Yep, only kicker drafted.
Oh, I just think it's funny.
He is the only kicker. You know what's so funny? If
It
you
was
go...
worth mentioning.
So if you go on PFF's rankings and you just look at the overall rankings of athletes, everyone else is ranked above the kickers. You could be the worst wide receiver and still be one above the best kicker in college. It's so funny. Like, you just keep scrolling and then you get to ranked number 467 and then it's just all the kickers. It's so funny to me. Which, I mean, to be fair, you don't normally draft kickers. Most get signed as free agents. But that's just always been funny. But the Ravens said they take a kicker, so they get a kicker. The best of the draft.
Imagine they trade down to the Mr. Irrelevant pick and take the kicker with the last pick in the draft.
That would be fun. That would be fun. Imagine replacing Justin Tucker with Mr. Irrelevant.
That's incredible.
Gold. That'd be a goated script. Anyways, that is the full mock draft. If you want to see all of the picks, they'll be posted online on Wednesday when this releases. And, you can rage at me in the comments or whatever you want to do. We're here for it. We love the content farming. If you want to give me a grade, you can give me a grade. I'll take it. unless someone wants to actually say something nice, they can also do that. I don't get a lot of love, guys. But that is it for the full episode of Carson's College Knowledge, Carson's Stock Talk. That is my mock draft. Yay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. Reminder to follow all of our socials, because even though now all of the daily draft videos are gone, we are going to start getting new content. We're going to start moving into Alex's schedule. Stuff is going to be coming out there. Make sure you follow that. We're going to have a special episode coming out next week or sometime.
It'll be right after when's the draft? The 25th?
The draft is Thursday.
Okay. I look, you want to do it right after the draft, so I have enough time for shorts.
Then we can just do it next week, because the draft finishes on Saturday. So
Okay.
we can have it released the day before or after our regular episode.
Okay.
We'll have more info about that when we get there. But for now, make sure you're following so you can hear all of that. Reminder, footballersanonymous-shop.fourthwall.com. Use code DSTROYN and get 10% off your first order for one more day. One more day. As soon as Thursday happens, as soon as we get to Thursday, it's gone. And there are still 2 VIP spots remaining, so make sure you take them. With that, Footballer Nation, we hope you enjoyed this very special episode. Footballer Nation, let's ride.